What is up, you guys? Happy new moon in Pisces. Me. Yay. So excited. I don't know how you guys have been feeling recently, but this Pisces season has been deeper and more intense and enhanced than ever for me. And I think it's because like we've been talking about for the last couple of years, this is not only a Pisces season that wraps up this calendar year, this energetic year, as far as like spring, summer, winter, fall, or spring, summer, fall, winter, and Aries all the way around to Pisces, the astrological year. It's this particular end of this cycle is wrapping up the cycle of cycles for us. And this is the launch forward, the walk through the portal, so to speak, to that next timeline. Once we walk into Aries season, we're walking into eclipse season again, right? So that's the portal we're about to walk through. So this Pisces season has us feeling like all the feels. We're purging all of the leftover accumulation of emotional clutter and dust that needs to be cleansed and purged before we move on to the next chapter. We are becoming incredibly aware, neurologically speaking, of how the patterns are not only showing up in broad strokes, but in micro ways through the day. And that has been so enlightening. We've been looking into literally tools to help us with dealing with the way childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome manifests in adults. And so the channel that is expertise in that is Crappy Childhood Fairy. I highly recommend that woman. She's very helpful. That has been very enlightening because I think that we think about our mind and our heart and our soul and our spirit, but then what's left is like the neural plasticity that needs to be reformed and reshaped, and that subconscious that needs to be rewritten. And so there's some very poignant tools out there that I talk about that I use, and I leave links in the description box below. But ultimately, that's something I think that like kind of gets left out. And so I think that's been very helpful to bring that in to practice, to try to address that specifically, that area. So Pisces season has us purging all that old stuff. It has us also sort of like mourning that those things that we're leaving behind, that we're editing, that we're saying goodbye to. You know, it feels like sort of when you graduate high school and you're leaving your hometown, and you know there's certain people that you're just like never gonna see again. But it's bittersweet, you know, and there's people that you will see, and there's people that who knows, you know. But it kind of feels like that right now. And also it sort of feels like when you're at an award show and they do the in memoriam for, you know, the actors and the filmmakers and people who have passed, and they kind of honor their work. And it's like we're kind of doing that to the parts of ourselves that we are not bringing with us, that we accept are like in memoriam, you know. And the resurrected self has transcended those parts, and we can take the best pieces and reintegrate. And the parts of ourself that just would not serve, you know, we've been reintegrating our shadow and bringing that with us, and healing the ego and bringing that with us. But there are parts where there's no turning back. And so the truth has been known, and the truth has been embodied and known, and the truth has set us free from those limiting beliefs and the ways that we've held ourselves back that we didn't even realize. So knowing those blocks is helping us dissolve them and really finally expand fully into our potential. So using this Pisces season to its fullest is super helpful right now. So Pisces helps us do the deep dive, not only to purge the feelings and to feel them so that what we don't feel, what we resist persists. So we've been feeling a lot. And we've been proud and inspired and dreamy, but we've also been in the kind of the bogs. And so it's like mud season, you know, look at nature. It's so wet right now. And that's like Pisces is the water of water. The thing is, it's very mutable. So this is the point if life were a script in a screenplay, this is the plot point at the end of Act 3. So there's a plot point at the beginning of Act 1, at the end of the introduction, that sort of looks at the character, where they are and where they're at in this moment, and it sort of like turns everything upside down and sets the character on their journey. But there's a plot point at the end of Act 2 or 3, I can't remember. It's towards the end, and I believe it's in Act 3 though, where it's like the turning point, where we confront final confrontation, where we integrate everything that we've been learning up until this point, and this is it, and this is the big turning point where it kind of concludes our lesson, so to speak. We overcome the opponent, hopefully, and we move on, and so after that plot point, it's sort of like we find ourselves looking through the pieces and sifting through, and like the characters, like, you know, you kind of like catch up with them a few weeks later, and they're kind of like reflecting, and like, oh, they're always like next to some boxes and like with like a lighter colored outfit on, you know, and they're like, you know, I'm really, you know, coming into my own. And that's kind of like what Pisces season is right now. It's like we've had some grand finale moments recently, and now it's like we're kind of like processing what it's all been about and what it's all meaning, and having like lightning strike revelation. Suddenly it's all clicking. And so looking back and reflecting, deep reflection on the wisdom and the discernment and everything that we've learned up until this point, and how we want to integrate that with that mutability and that changeability. It's like we're not stuck in our ways. We're not rigid. We can change for the good and evolve and transcend going forward into this new cycle, into a new day. And so how do we want to do that? Well, there's two things. It's like, once, you know, when we get to Pisces and the astrological wheel, Pisces is the most elevated, the most evolved, the most mature. So as a vessel, Pisces has created the greatest vessel for healing, insight, and sharing. But as the oldest, most tired vessel, the Pisces has kind of lost and dwindled the desire to receive. And we cannot do anything, we can't manifest anything if we don't have that desire to receive. So you may feel that coming of spring and that fire reigniting, and that energy sort of like starting to fire off again. And you may have felt like you would never feel energetic again. Like lately I've been like, will I ever think anything is funny again? Like I used to love to laugh, you know? And it's like finally, like I'm feeling it, like the springtime sort of like turning the key in the ignition. But that's because it's just like we've been so deep in the wet depths of Pisces, and it's just sort of gotten us feeling a bit soggy. And so Pisces not only has been helping us reflect, purge, feel, grieve the parts of us that weren't, or the parts of us that have come and passed, the experiences of life that we are, you know, appreciating, but moving on to new experiences. It's like we have to grieve those things, we have to honor them, we have to celebrate them. And so now it's like this time of like so many feelings going on, whilst at the same time reflecting on major life lessons, integrating them so that we can start kind of living in a conscious, free will way going into the next cycle, hopefully with our sovereignty, our cosmic sovereignty. So Pisces has us in deep healing, integration, pivoting into looking forward into that next beginning that's coming. And Pisces also has us like really vivid within our imagination, and being able to envision what we want for the next cycle ahead. So it has us really able to use our imagination to feel and see our dreams already coming into fruition, and like seeing how that kind of plays out. And then as you sort of like reverse engineer that, it's like that's kind of like your higher self able to put you there and project you there in the future. So who is the person that's able to attain this dream? What does it take to maintain and sustain this? What does it take on a daily basis to get there? And so Pisces in Capricorn, or sorry, Saturn in Pisces right now has us able to get more discipline and structure around how we're going to make our dreams a reality. So that's really good. Now, Pisces also has us having like really vivid dreams at night and almost even prophetic dreams. So use that to your advantage right now. Pray before you go to bed that God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, your angels, your higher self, your subconscious, whatever you deeply connect with, whatever gets that, communication going, ask to be guided in your next steps, or especially ask to be guided. Okay, what do I need to do, unblock, or heal right now, or let go of, or surrender to, that will help me dissolve what's blocking me from and holding me back from going into my full potential, from being able to move forward, from being able to take the steps and make them fruitful and productive. Like, show me what's blocking me, right? And so show me the steps forward, but get clear. Maybe like start with one very clear question before you go to sleep. And when you feel like you've gotten some dreams that have addressed that and you kind of feel like you understand what they mean. And I love dreammoods.com. It's a really rudimentary website, but it's like an A to Z dream dictionary. You'd be surprised at the things that are in there, but I've always found it congruent with what I'm picking up as well. So I like that one, dreammoods.com. Okay, so that is all about, one more thing. Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius has got us like reinventing the mind. The reflection message over the weekend, tarot oracle message, reflective message over the weekend or whatever, my last video like in between this one, we talk a lot about this, but it's like, our mind, our perception, our consciousness is being innovated and expanded. And we're like, whoa, we're awakening to so much more that we're capable of. And we are seeing those limiting beliefs connected with just like old programming, like viruses in our hard drive. And it's like, we're recognizing them now. And it's like, we're able to pause and be like, oh, I need to like run a cleanser on my hard drive. This is not me. This is not my choice. This is just a default response. So we're able to pause and then choose, okay, this is how I want to behave going forward. It's a practice, right? It's practiced behavior because you've got all that old muscle memory, all that old reflexiveness stored up. But Pluto is the transformational planet of death and rebirth, right? So that is helping us change our perspective, our outlook, our mindset, right? And I think that ties in also to our neural patterns and the subconscious and the neural patterns that have been developed in our defense mechanisms and our operating systems as a result of things put in our subconscious, right? So, okay, let's do our Celtic cross reading using my straightforward oracle. And I've got my alarm set because I'm going to work tonight, so that might go off and I might have to finish this later, but we will get started. So this is my straightforward oracle. This is my custom deck. The first card will represent who we are in the context of this moment. This is an issue of self-love. This has been coming up in some of our other readings, including our weekly romance reading. So right now, it would be a good time to focus, especially in Pisces season, before we start new things, before we're planting new seeds, tie up loose ends and focus on all that, putting all that energy and attention onto you. How do you love yourself? What does that look like? It's like getting to know yourself. Giving yourself time to nurture yourself, being kind to yourself, paying attention to yourself. If you want to do something and it's good for you and it's a good practice to put into place, it's being consistent and showing up. And if you wanted to do something and you make plans for yourself, then honor those plans. Respect yourself. When you feel like whatever the way that you want other people to treat you and that makes you feel loved, it's like you do those things to yourself. That is a habit you need to get into because that will tell you and show you examples of love towards yourself. And so when you give love to yourself, you can receive love from yourself. And that might be in a lot of ways. It might be, building your savings so that you are building long-term value and wealth instead of squandering your resources. Maybe that means that you spend your free time working on your dreams and not maybe just kind of wasting it in mindless ways that were impulsive decisions at the last minute. That could be a lot of different things, but choosing to love yourself looks like a lot of different things, and pretending that or comparing it to how you want others to love you is a good example of ways to start showing yourself love, because then that's how you attract other people that show you that love, because you're already radiating that and emanating it, but also you've learned how to love yourself. And so you can then help others love you the best. It's like some people are just naturally good and compatible with like showing you love, but those aren't their strengths, right? So it's like you can help people love you better and communicate needs and boundaries, but not until you know them yourself. All right, what is crossing us now? And this is, so new moons, it's worth saying, are the seed level energy of the next 30 days. It's the whole moon cycle. So it's not just the first 2 weeks, which is the most potent. So over the next few days is really when you want to harness your focus on what you want to call in. Take a few actions in this first few days of this waxing cycle. So right on top of this is an issue of self-love. What's crossing us now, y'all won't even believe. Deservingness is the key to unblocking your manifestation. So self-love and deservingness. And deservingness, I feel like, is a layer lighter than self-worth. So I feel like when we've been working on our self-worth, it helps strengthen our sense of deservingness. And I think that deservingness is something that it's like easier to, it's almost like a topical cream, right? It's easier to remind yourself, like I teach yourself to know that you deserve. Whereas self-worth is like a very deep core foundational thing that I feel like we've been working on, and it takes a lot to understand and just demonstrate to yourself your self-worth, and to demonstrate to others your self-worth. But deservingness is sort of like self-worth is to joy as deservingness is to happiness. Does that make sense? It's like a subsidiary, a secondary. It's not a primary color, it's a secondary color. Does that make sense? Wheel of emotions, next layer. So deservingness, it's something easier to remind yourself. It's like getting it into your mind, getting it into your comfort zone, that you deserve, right? That you deserve to have needs, that you deserve to, have what you've worked towards. And also knowing that you don't want things given to you without earning them, because that's what creates lack of fulfillment, bred of shame, lack of valuing something. So really feeling that deservingness when you've put in and you've earned something through a process. But being honest with yourself, also knowing if there's more process to go before you really have resonated with something, or if you're just trying to take without earning and just get the hit of satisfaction. That's something also to think about. But overall, right now, I think what we need is to have more of a sense of deservingness of anything, and that we're probably over giving and thinking what more do I need to do to deserve this? It's like you already deserve it. It could be that kind of little bit of interference that's blocking a clear signal. Okay, so this card is going to be the subconscious influence that's affecting the situation right now. You are abundant. Act in faith, knowing what you need will be provided. Your cup runneth over. You have so much to share. Cultivate and enjoy a sense of abundance. Now that's really positive news, especially in the position of our subconscious, because that tells me that we aren't subconsciously operating from a scarcity mindset anymore. We're not automatically operating from an assumption of fear, lack, and doubt. We've done a lot of work to work on that self-worth, because we have learned that the Creator is abundant, that the universe is abundant, that abundance is ours for the taking, that it's not a matter of if there's abundance, is my radio dial tuned in to the right station to connect with it, right? And so we do believe that we're abundant, thank God. Thank you, Baruch Hashem. But it's now an issue of deservingness. It's like, okay, we've come to the feast, we've come to the party, and now it's that moment where the buffet is open and everyone's sheepishly holding their plates and no one wants to go. And you know who always is the one that wants to go last? Mom. And you know who everybody wants to go first? Mom. And she's like, no, everybody, oh, you go, I'm nothing. I just prepared everyone and gave birth to everybody and prepared the feast. And it's like, pretend you are mom at the holiday meal. And it's like when the universe is like, please, after you. Wait, let me get your 2-ply Chinette platter ready for you, madame. Not sponsored. I auditioned for a Chinette commercial once and I didn't get the part, even though we were asked to improv, and I was like spitting out comedy gold, like just ringer after ringer after ringer, boom, boom, boom. And the people behind the table were like, wow, this is really amazing. She's really onto something. Oh my God, this is a talent. But I'm just like, I don't look like a Chinette plate person. Like, I didn't fit the criteria. I know I'm not like a commercial, like, look. And so, yeah, did not get that. But, that's one of those times where it's like you got to assume abundant consciousness, right? Didn't work out. I'm not for everyone. It wasn't because I was less than in any way. Not at all. So, yes, what is coming up that is a lesson from the past that we're beginning to integrate, that's like we're still kind of dealing with the effects of it, but not for much longer? It's a long way to describe this position of this card, but it's like that. This is the one that's always like difficult to explain. It's like an effect from the past that's beginning to dissipate, but you still feel the effects of. Signs and synchronicities. Okay, so maybe you feel something coming and you've been seeing signs of this and synchronicities about this for a long time, and you're like, what is happening? Like the universe, those videos about the universe just like fucking with people, and they're like, why are you doing this to me? Jennifer Love Hewitt, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? I'm going insane. Yeah, so these signs and synchronicities have been leading up to something, and it's all going to make sense soon is what I feel. And it's like you have been listening, you have been learning that vernacular and building that vernacular with spirit and your angels and your guides all this time, and they have been talking to you and you've been following them, and so it's been putting you on your path. And now it's like there's so much waiting for you. The cornucopia is overflowing. It's just a matter of now like dialing in self-love and deservingness. Okay, so what's crowning us now? This is tied to guilt. So what's hovering over you? What is crowning you? What is the clouds, the weather look like that's following you around like a little cartoon? It's guilt. And this sense of deservingness is tied to a sense of feeling guilty. Like you feel guilty about something, so you feel like you don't deserve to have all the abundance that the universe has in store. But what if the reasons why you feel like you don't deserve it are the exact reasons why you're supposed to have those things? Those were the things that you were supposed to go through that were laid out for you specifically so that you would have the experience and the perspective and the compassion and the empathy and the scars and the battle wounds and the know-how that you have now, right? And so everyone is assigned these things, this outline of the lifetime that they're dealt. That's what our fate is. The improvisations that we choose and the scene work that plays out in between, that's our destiny. Those are the choices we make as we show up. And depending on the choices that we made when we showed up for today's episode at night, when we go to sleep and we have that miniature death, that mini judgment day where our soul ascends to the upper realms to talk to the spiritual council and they weigh out our day, that's when the writers get told, okay, this is kind of what's on the plate for tomorrow's episode, right? This is when the writers get to work. We go through that every day at the end of the day. So it's always good to try to reconcile the things that you have, the mistakes that you've made within that day, right? And try to learn something from them and reflect before you go to sleep. So something tied to feeling guilty is the thing that is making you feel like you don't deserve to have success and to have real love and to have that life of fulfillment that you see, that your soul knows is it's calling to you, but you're not quite there yet. And the thing that's blocking you now is guilt and deservingness. Okay, so what's coming up right around the corner? This is a physical issue to overcome. So now it's about just taking practical steps forward. You know what to do. You know the things that you need to do in your daily routines and structures to support that self-love and to make your dreams a reality. And so now it's about taking action. This is a physical issue to overcome, practical, mundane, body, household, money, diet, sleep habits, physical behaviors, 3D world. So now it's like, now you know what to do, just do it, take action. And that's good. That kind of simplifies things. It's like you've done this work on the inside. Now it's about materially embodying that new person. Okay, so the next card is going to represent our perspective right now that's affecting the situation. I just saw the Facing Fears card. Okay, this is tied to shame. Guilt and shame. Super low vibrational, and they immediately contract us and close the vessel. The light is always radiating and giving us and showering us with miracles, with unconditional love, with abundance, with cosmic ease, flow, grace, favor, you know, all the joy, all the goodness, all the fulfillment. But we as the vessel are struggling to build that vessel, right? And create a vessel that's big enough, depending on the size of our self-love, right? Our sense of self-worth and the strength of the vessel, the sturdiness of the vessel, how much the vessel can hold without crumbling is dependent on our faith in the Creator, our certainty in the light of the Creator, which keeps us connected, which keeps us stable. And then on top of that, the lid, the opening of our vessel, is it contracted in fear, lack, doubt, shame, guilt? Is there a lid that closes off our ability to receive? Because what happens is vibrationally, we need to be in resonance with the light of the Creator in order to be in union with the Creator. We need to build affinity with the light. But when we are not in affinity with the light, we break our connection with the Creator and we cut ourselves off from receiving our blessings. So what's happening right now is that our shameful perspective about ourselves is causing us to be cut off from the abundance that's trying to come in. And so if you're like, I don't feel ashamed about anything, are you feeling overly emotional about something anyone else is doing that could have a parallel to something that you've done at some point that you have like learned your lesson about, but now you're like, oh my God, I'd never do that again. But like for some reason you're just like, it's like amplified to you. It's like maybe that's unprocessed within you that you still feel shame that you don't realize that you feel shame about. And so maybe like you need to like do some kind of ceremony where you forgive yourself for that and let go of the shame, because the shame is okay, so when the opponent comes to sneak up and like steal our blessings, right before our blessings come in, there's all this surrounding light that gathers in our auric field. And this is, you know, what I kind of call the blessing juice, the miracle juice. And as it condenses, that's when our manifestations start coming through. Well, in order to like the opponent, right? The Satan, there's a masculine and feminine opponent. There's two of them that are always waiting to grab hold of all that miracle juice, that nectar. And so what happens is the male Satan will come up and sneak up and like entrap you in the initial mistake or temptation or lashing out or whatever, their reactive behavior. So that will spill the light. However, the feminine Satan comes in and tries to make you feel shame and guilt. And that causes them to get all of it. They take everything. It's like double the points go over to the other side. So if you can meet that male Satan moment where maybe you can bypass the lesson altogether, good on you, like champion, gold medal. But if you find yourself at odds with that opponent and you make a mistake, the key is to like atone, witness what you did wrong, accept it, feel remorse, change. And don't let it get you down. Release it. Forgive yourself and move forward, and don't continue that behavior. Don't do that again, or do your best not to. But don't let it make you feel shame and guilt. Remorse, yes. Atonement, yes. But not shame, not guilt. Those are destructive, not constructive. So, and they don't share affinity with the light of the Creator. So guilt, shame, and deservingness are what is cutting you off right now from what is ready and available to come in. So get through this by spring. Try to address this directly. The outer circumstances affecting us right now, new beginnings. New beginnings are coming. Spring is coming. So don't carry this with you when the new opportunity presents. Because already in the 2024 prediction series, by the time we get to May, something beautiful is presenting. It might be all the opportunities that we've been waiting for suddenly arriving like in May. And everything is all fun until we hit like a woo. In week 3, we get scared, we start to self-doubt, and we start to read into the shadow of the situation, and it becomes magnified. So we're wrestling with those insecurities again in May, and we need to overcome them because the same thing is coming up in June, and it's all about a sense of deservingness and just really solidifying that and not feeling that imposter syndrome or that everything is gonna be gloom and doom. Like, what if it's gonna be really great, right? So we're already getting the warning now. Let's resolve those issues so that we're extra strong then to get through that little initiation, right? So new beginnings are coming, a fresh start, new ideas, new projects, new relationships, new job even, the beginning of something big, setting out on a journey. So it's not that all these things are going to happen to you. You're like, oh my God, I don't want a new job. I like the job I have. It's just like maybe a renewed energy at work. All of these things are getting a reset. And if you love what you're doing, then it's going to be expanded and amplified, and things are going to evolve and shift. But things are changing, so it's like, don't get too attached to anything because your life is expanding. And so that's what we're doing right now, is that we're really trying to be in a state of free floating, so that the universe can shift us and guide us into that divine path that's laid out, that's going to deliver the most fulfillment and have the most purpose and give us the most pleasure, because it uses our divinely given talents. It puts us with the best collaborators, friends, romantic partners. It sets us up. Okay, so in the position of our hopes and fears, indecision is keeping you in a stalemate. So this is something that was coming up in our Friday weekend reflective reading. So that's the second time that video has been brought up as a reference in this video. So definitely go watch that. It's the last tarot and oracle reading, probably before this one is posted. So indecision is that King of Cups reversed energy, where you just can't really make up your mind about something. You're indecisive, you're timid, you're shy, you're not bold and decisive and yeah. So it's you need to get more in your divine masculine energy of being decisive, being able to cut through procrastination, and the fear, the indecision might be just fear of making a mistake. But getting over that, it's what if there isn't a wrong choice? What if it's just you're just choosing a path that'll ultimately lead you to those big plot points anyway? It's just, this is a route to get there, right? So stop being frozen in analysis paralysis and be more decisive, because that's kind of what's keeping you in that stalemate. There also might be an inner conflicting desire that is a subconscious fear about getting what you want, because you think that it's going to conflict in some way for another thing that you want. Maybe you want a relationship and that's what you're looking for on the outside, but a part of you is too your independence too much and you're not willing to change or let someone in. That could be a very big subconscious block that you need to become aware of and question, when that starts to block you from, exploring letting people in, because that's what's holding you back from a relationship, or could be, right? Okay, so the next card is going to be the likely outcome over the next month, or what it's leading to. And this is really dependent on how we show up, because we can't really predict the future because it's being made in the present moment. It doesn't exist yet. This is a spiritual issue to overcome. So yeah, it's like it's up in the air right now, and things are being written in to the script and details are being ironed out, but this is really a spiritual issue to overcome and then a physical issue to put into place. So it's like the marriage of the spiritual transformation and then putting that into practice into the physical. This experience is serving you to challenge you for your spiritual transformation. Growth through challenges. You are supposed to go through this right now. There's something to glean from this. Pause. How you meet this moment can change the situation. Overcome reactivity. The situation might seem like a surface or material issue, but it's connected to a spiritual lesson that you are meant to learn in this moment. So again, back when it was like, this is a physical issue to overcome, it's like this might be a spiritual issue, but it might require like physical, like to be addressed in a material kind of way. Tests, learning, embodying challenges, spiritual transformation. Awesome. So big month, big transitional month, it feels like. Let's get 4 tarot cards to sort of give us a synopsis to tie it all together. Feeling that. Ooh, 4 of Pentacles. So like trying to establish new security and stability, but also seeing through our like desire to want to control and close ourselves off. See, like the 4 of Pentacles in a good way, in a high octave way, she's got a hold on her resources. She's balanced. She's got, you know, everything under control. However, it's like this is also this character that's like kind of holding on too tight and being controlling, and that's falling into an illusion, and it's coming from scarcity mindedness, and it's actually blocking out, and this character's heart chakra is closed off because it's trying to control. And so 6 of Wands in reverse, it's like you know, a little bit of a hiccup on the way to your victory. It's like it's that controlling nature. So let go of control issues. And try to let go of fears and scarcity mindedness and be balanced, right? Build real, like legitimate security, but don't build it on like reactive behaviors that are coming from scarcity and desperation. It's like, just make better habits for yourself. But don't be controlling. Like if there's, people who are being people of free will, and it's like we're not, like if like an anxiety comes up within us and you like want them to act a certain way, it's like you can't project that, you know. It's like that's controlling, right? It's like this illusion that you can control your environment, and it's not. You can't, and it'll blow up in your face. So that's kind of like that controlling energy is resistance, and it is resistance, and it's keeping you stalled from moving forward. So the Hanged Man is here, the Hanged One in this deck, to give like a pause in activity, which is, this is Pisces here. This is the Pisces card. So Pisces season is giving us a minute to just recollect ourselves, really like let go of any of that resistance to moving forward victoriously. It's like letting us get our perspective really like clear and like steady and grounded and solidified, and getting a higher perspective, like connecting with that higher self, not the lower self. But it's a seeming pause in activity, and it's a temporary one at that. So just know there's more going on behind the scenes than meets the eye. We've got Knight of Wands here. So there's a lot of energy to get going, but we need to overcome our tendency to become easily distracted or non-committal or have shiny object syndrome. And so this can be a result of like what we were talking about, early childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome. When it's playing out in adulthood, if you have this like lingering trauma in your nervous system, it can show up as freezing, but that looks like it's not always obvious that you're freezing. It's like you're underperforming. Like and it looks kind of like ADD, but it's not really ADD. You're like, what is this? It's like, I'm not productive even though I sit to do things. And it's like, you might get like, you feel busy, but like on the wrong things. But Knight of Wands has a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of like go, 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 a lot of piss and vinegar, but just not a lot of focus and not a lot of stick-to-itiveness. So that's going to be what we're trying to overcome this month, is like figuring out what it is that's getting in the way of us being able to focus that energy wisely. Now, Knight of Wands is kind of like, it can also be like a sexual, like deviant, like a player energy, like horn dog, like running around. So don't waste all this energy. Like it's just gonna get you going in the wrong direction. So really try to harness that energy and channel it into a creative force to move you forward, right? Focus, be intentful with it. It's great energy to have. That's that rebirth of spring coming in, but don't let it cause you to be all like, ah, and forget what you should be focusing that energy into. Because this is the seasons, you know, they're not forever. So Aries energy is cardinal beginning, like fire energy. It's like getting distracted during a launch. Like, just, we need to be focused right now. We need to harness that energy to break through the stratosphere. Okay, before we pull our oracle from there, let's get a lunology card, or a moonology card. What do we need to know about this next moon cycle that's going to best serve our highest good? All right, we're doing good. We're at 41 minutes. Okay. Ooh, it's time to take action. Oh my God, new moon in Aries. Y'all, you can't make this shit up. Hi, Corn. So it's time to take action. And I know it's the new moon in Pisces, but we're already feeling it. So while you're purging, don't feel like you have to hold yourself back. Like, start taking steps, but follow those divinely guided impulses. That's what I mean by like harnessing that energy. It's like, wait for the precise moment where you know, like, oh, source told me to do this and it's right now and I'm not going to question it and this is it. So start taking action. No delays, right? It's like that physical step, like when the spirit moves you, just do it. Goddess Nike right there. Okay. So, let's get one of the Angel Wisdom Tarot cards. Let's give us some advice for the month. All right, take action. Take action. And this is also a super moon. So even though it's a new moon, the moon's really close to the earth right now. And so like emotions are heightened, which is like crazy because that's the card that we got last time. It was super moon. And it really wasn't emotionally heightened a couple of weeks. Okay, so Wise Counselor. This is the Hierophant card. This has been coming up a lot. So this to me, I've been reading lately as cosmic sovereignty. The Aries card coming up in the Moonology card, that's like the Emperor card. The Emperor is the king of kings over many realms. This is kingdoms, right? Multiple kingdoms. So it's like, again, think about it. We're healing our energy and our inspiration and our motivation again. We're healing our sense of self and our confidence in self. We're healing our hearts and our emotional patterns, and we're healing our thoughts and our minds. And we've been healing our connection to source, that spiritual connection. And now we've been like clued in on the neurology behind certain things, right? And so it's like, oh, okay, we're mastering all of these kingdoms, including our literal material kingdom around us, and the way that we take action and show up. The North Node of the Moon is in Aries right now. That's the rebirth of self, the way that we show up now in the world. It's being rebirthed over the next 12 months, continuing to be rebirthed over the next 12 months. How we interact with others is changing. That's that Libra in the South Node. So lots of things, you know, where we're coming into our own, we're standing in our cosmic sovereignty, where we're seeing all these patterns and we're able to start breaking them now and literally living in enough presence and awareness to begin the practice of pause. Do not do that reflexive reaction. Instead, take a few breaths, center, and tune inward. How do I want to be showing up from now on? Who is the person I'm becoming in this cycle? What would my higher self do? And then we can choose with free will, and that is having cosmic sovereignty. It is maintaining that cause consciousness with the light of the creator instead of becoming affected in effect consciousness and, losing our affinity with the light of the creator. Because the creator is the cause of causes, not the effect of anything. And so we need to, as we build certainty, as we strengthen the vessels, we build the vessel to become more like the creator. We become more certain in the creator, and we become less affected by the ups and downs and changes of life. We're just kind of like solid and in fulfillment. Whatever, come what may, it'll all be fine. It's all gonna work out, and I'll be fine and I'll be good. So let's tune in to our manifestations over the next month, and especially over the next 2 weeks during the waxing cycle. How do we need to direct our focus and energy? Again, the synchronicity card comes up. Your prayers and questions are being answered, and they have been, and that's what's leading us up to this moment. Your prayers and questions are being answered by synchronistic events. Notice them in order to increase their flow. So when you see these happening, call it out loud and, give thanks to Spirit for communicating this to you. And then either it's something to put away that you can't act on immediately, or it's like stow it away and remember it, or it's something that you need to act on then do it. But you'll kind of know. But as you participate more with the synchronicities, more of them will happen, but don't obsessively look for them. Don't make things a synchronicity because that's what you want to see, because that is you're causing interference with yourself. So don't force it, but they present to you. Okay, helpful person. Someone wants to help you. Think of whom that might be and initiate contact. So is there a person or persons that you've been feeling like you need to reach out to and maybe ask a question or get their services, hire them for something? Or maybe they had some insight for you. Maybe it's a coach that you find on YouTube that gives you some insight into the next step forward. But be on the lookout for literal, physical, material helpers that are going to help you, and be ready to receive that advice and put it into action. Okay, so what else? Divine magic. Extra magical energy surrounds your situation right now. Expect miracles. So we just unpacked this a few minutes ago when we talked about the surrounding light gathering and that miracle juice and condensing. And so just expect that as you are surrounded in extra magical energy right now, so too your opponent is enticed by all the honey that is like laid out on the chopping block, right? And all the ants are gathering. So be mindful, be careful, be intentional right now with how you show up. Because every time you can overcome that egoic impulse, that opens up the vessel for more miracles, and it makes the miracle just sauce even more potent, right? Changes the script for like the better scenario to play out. Okay, so like one last card for our manifestations. Ooh, alchemy. Oh my gosh, you have the Midas touch right now, and every project you begin turns to gold. So don't forget that. We are surrounded by magic right now, and we have the Midas touch, we have the support of the universe, and we have like the magic touch right now. So everything that we touch can turn to gold. What's giving us extra potency and extra power is when we are willing to let go of the ego, to rise above smallness, to rise above our animalistic nature, to want to be reactive, impulsive, grab for instant gratification instead of long-term fulfillment, or reach to receive for the self alone instead of for the sake of sharing. Okay, so every time we overcome that ego, it's like transmutation of the darkness into light, and that is spiritual alchemy that turns the lead to gold. And the gold is that power in that manifestation juice, right? That creator is, allowing to gather over you as a co-creator. That's what's kind of what's happening there. All right, love life. What do we need to know for our romantic life? what do we need to focus on in order to best set ourselves up for the best next love cycle? Okay. Religious factors. Your love life is influenced by your religious upbringing and spiritual path. So use that to call in your soulmate, bring that into your prayer practice, but also realize as you're vetting partners that like you want someone who's spiritually compatible, and some people are going to be and some people may not be. And that's kind of a core thing that is going to be a big issue, especially if you have kids. And so it needs to be like kind of, you know, in the forefront of like what you need and what you are aware of, and the boundaries that you need to set around that, and like who you will continue to entertain and who you don't. But also knowing that sometimes like as people come and go, as you meet people, like sometimes it's not about like whether or not you were good enough or whether or not they liked you. Sometimes it's about like, well, we just didn't have compatible beliefs and it wouldn't have worked out. Codependency. So addictions are affecting your romantic life right now. So like using this time in Pisces to figure out like where you run on a spectrum. We all kind of fall on a spectrum of codependency and enmeshment and things like that to a certain degree. We all have attachment styles, you know, we all have this and that. And so it's helpful to find out about yourself, learn about yourself. Okay, where are my tendencies? Where are my triggers? Where are my weak spots? You know, where are the gaps where the opponent can get in and mess with me? And so one of the things to look for related to childhood post-traumatic stress syndrome is fawning and limerence. Fawning is like going overboard to try to make everything okay. Every time a situation might have the slightest bit of upset, or like you're like go above and beyond to like, you know, serve someone and give to them so that they will be consistent and not abandon you and love you. Limerence is obsessive thinking, and it's a mental escape, but it's that thing that people call like unrequited love, but it's like, it's to the degree that it's distracting and it interrupts your productivity. And it's like a habitual tick almost, but it's actually a defense mechanism that prevents you from having your heart open to people who are available. And so that's something that it's helpful to break that pattern once you recognize it, because it breaks the spell of like real interest versus limerence. You're like, oh, once you start vetting it against that, you're like, okay, that kind of like, boom, broken the spell. It's like when you're on hallucinogens and then you realize you're like, oh, I'm really high. And then you're like, oh, fuck, I'm just like completely killed the trip. And now you're like back to reality and you're like, shoot. All right. Speaking of unrequited loves on the bottom of the deck. All right, I've got a couple of minutes here. I'm just going to finish up real quick. So let's get our other card. Children. Your love life is being affected by children. This could be literal, like the religious factors thing, but when I apply this to the inward work that we have control over, it's about inner child. The inner child is coming forward in some way and needs some sort of attention or healing, or like, it's like, I need to tell you something, right? So the inner child could be acting out. That could be related to your codependency. It's like what happened in childhood that laid the foundations for this particular way that codependency shows up in your adult relationship patterns. And having discovered that and unraveled that and like gotten the clue to the case, very soon, love can come in. So clearly decide what you want so that it comes to you now. So again, that indecision, that not getting clear, that's what's kind of keeping us stuck in a stalemate. And so we need to, the more clarity that we have on what we don't want, the more that we know our non-negotiables and deal breakers and get clear about the kind of partnership we want to call in, it makes it easier for things to come in because we can vet out, okay, this does not align with my love, vision, needs, goals. Okay, so advice from Mary, Jesus's mom. We've got trust and home. I know that God in his infinite wisdom and love is answering my prayers right now. Even though it's like you can't see it, we know, we trust, we have certainty, right? And then home. I trust and follow my divine guidance about my home. So yeah, you might be guided to clean up some clutter or move some furniture around or do something in regards to your home, but really clearing the energy and allowing that energy to flow, it might be very helpful. Might move a lot of energy, might balance the feng shui in a way that you really need it to. Okay, and then last but not least, certainly not least, is Jesus. We are getting some loving words from Jesus. Judge not that you be not judged. So judge not lest you be judged. So remember earlier when we were saying, if you don't know what you feel shame about, look to your judgment right now. Who are you judging and why and what for? And that probably is going to point to your own shame. So judge not lest you be judged. I always feel like the moment we judge somebody for something, it's like you almost guarantee that that's going to play out in your life somehow. You're going to have to walk through their shoes. So it really sucks when you catch yourself doing it, especially when you're in a cycle of like judgment that you can't get out of. And you're like, but try to cut it loose. Judge not lest you be judged. So be reborn, wash that away. Springtime is coming. Go baptize yourself in some water and release that judgment. All right, y'all, happy new moon in Pisces, the fish, the twin fish, the Christ fish, the all the things. Purple is Pisces, peacock feather earrings for Pisces, psychic, deep, soulful, philosophical, healing, giving Pisces. But don't forget to reignite the desire to receive the light for yourself as well, because that is the light that's driving you to give your gifts to the world. That's the light that is driving you to go after your dreams, to go after that vision of the future for yourself. But if you don't have a desire, there's nothing getting you there. There's no gas in the tank. So let the rebirth of spring start coming in and reigniting your desire. In the meantime, don't resist all these feelings and visions coming up. But try not to get lost in illusion and confusion. Try to let it steer you through the fog. Trust that you're going through the fog and that it's going to burn off soon and that things are going to become more clear and you're going to become more decisive and more certain. All right, y'all. See you later. Ciao.